people are worried. Data is very expensive, yet data is not the resource we use for everything in life. What so far have you found out? What's the level of engagement with the operators, and how willing are they to come to the table to heed the concerns of consumers?
So I set up a data pricing committee and give them 14 days to come to me with a roadmap for implementation. And in 13 days, they submitted their report. It was stakeholders, MNOs, the regulator. And so we had that engagement. They submitted their report to me. The report had short-term, medium-term, and long-term policy reforms that had to be done. I referred it to the regulator. The regulator has gone on to meet with the MNOs on it. I've met with the MNO CEOs myself on the framework that's been given. I mean, people expect that I will just set the prices for data. That's impossible. I can't just set the prices for data, but what I can do is use policy. And so, for example, with some of the things that I've done relative to spectrum allocations and tech neutrality, I've used those to negotiate with players in the industry and said, I need you to do a certain package, for example, for students. I want to have a specific bundle for students in the country that is cheaper per megabyte than the regular data bundle that you offer. Again, I've said to them that for those who are content creators, those who work in the gig economy, we also want to have specialized data bundles for them, which are cheaper. And so these are all engagements that are ongoing. The regulator is finalizing the technical modalities to have these various pricing models, and then we'll put them out. But I think that in the long term, or medium to long term, what we really need to do is two things. Have a lot more bandwidth capacity coming into the country. And for me, I've already commenced conversations with Equiano. The Equiano cable belongs to Google. The capacity on Equiano is massive.
Yeah, data service.
Yeah, it's a subsea cable, and it carries bandwidth. And because it's new technology, it carries a heavy level of bandwidth. Again, a failing of the previous administration. Google wanted to land in Ghana. Google came to Ghana. The NCA at the time gave the license to a company, but for whatever personal reasons of persons in the ministry, they weren't happy with who got the license, and there was all kinds of rancor. And so Google decided to leave Ghana and go and land that cable in Togo.
So the cable is...
The cable is in Togo. And now it's going to cost us about $50 million to reroute and do a patch landing here in Accra. I had conversations with some executives from Google on that level, and we're extending that conversation to see that when Google does the phase 2 landings of Equiano, Ghana will be part of it. That will bring in more bandwidth, and the more, you see, it's a demand and supply thing. The more bandwidth you have in the country, the more the prices can be driven down because there's cheaper bandwidth that's coming in. But then another thing we need to do, which is a conversation I'm having with my brother John Jinapo, and we'll be having with PURC, is to have a certain level of what we call a tariff for the telecom sector, called the telecom tariff. Because electricity is one of the critical elements in the pricing of telecom services. You have mining tariffs, you have industrial tariffs, but nobody's looking at the telecom sector and the amount of power that is consumed and why we should have a telecom tariff which should be lower. And once that is achieved, there will be a knock-on effect. Again, I'm hopeful that the finance minister will do a rationalization of the VAT. If that is done, and we look at some instances of double taxation in the price and cost build-up for data and voice calls in the country, you will definitely see a pass-through effect on the cost of data in the country. So these are medium-term, sometime end of the year, next year issues, but we are expecting to see a few things drop.